Hi everybody. This particular lesson is going to focus on a third major theoretical perspective or model in sociology, symbolic interactionism, or the symbolic interactionist model. It's highlighted in chapter 1 in your textbook, and there's some information on pages 9 and 10 relating to this model. The focus is that we human beings have the capacity of symbolic communication. Arguably, the best known and the most important form of symbolic communication we humans employ is language. But focus on the concept symbol. A symbol stands for or represents something else via or due to association. Literally anything can serve as a symbol. For example, this dry board marker. When you think about it, focus on it for just a moment, you'll recognize that you could make an argument it's got lots of different meanings. It is a medium through which I can express myself with respect to notions, ideas. Likewise, I can express myself in an artistic way. It can be an attention getter. Okay? Likewise, some of you might view it within the context of it being a technological byproduct. What did it take to create this device? Some of you might view it more along the lines of its geometric form. It's a cylinder. So literally, again, this has got a lot of meanings associated with it. This model focuses on the fact that we attach meanings to situations, things, behaviors, just to name a few. And we respond not to the situation, the thing, the situation, the arrangement, but rather to the meanings that we associate with each. In the end, we not only create, but we use shared symbols. And through social interaction, we actually construct society, social structure, and reality. So this perspective emphasizes that human social life is possible only because people attach meanings to everything. Now, these meanings don't just exist in things. They don't pop out of a vacuum, if you will, but they're created through human social interaction. Now, for example, this gesture. Here in the United States, it has a positive connotation, kind of A-OK. Yet in a number of cultures, it's an insulting gesture. In Great Britain, this is an insulting gesture, but this isn't. Many of you probably recognize this gesture as popularized by Winston Churchill, the V for victory. But this is sort of a British version, and I think I'm safe saying this, of the American flipping the bird. So again, we don't respond to persons, places, and things according to this model. We respond to the meanings associated with them. Now that doesn't mean or imply that any of us are just automatically going to buy into or accept meanings or definitions uncritically. Rather, these meanings are negotiated. The assignment of meanings may change, may be debated as to, for example, time, situation, and the like. Consider for just a moment suntans. In the first 3 decades of the 20th century, suntans were often associated with field workers. That could have been a factor in giving rise to the redneck stereotype. But by the late 1940s and early 1950s, suntans had become associated with beauty, glamour, and good health. But by the late 1980s and early 1990s, perceptions shifted again due to a determined link between suntans and skin cancer. Consider for a moment the ongoing debate about climate change. Is it real? Are humans largely responsible? Furthermore, take just a moment and reflect upon this flag. Some people refer to it as the Confederate battle flag. It's actually the flag flown by the Army of Northern Virginia. But there's ongoing debate as to the meanings and significance of the flag itself. Is it a symbol of heritage, or is it a symbol of hate? Consider also suicide. And as you are doing that, take a moment and reflect upon this information. Again, you won't find it on your study guide. There's no need for you to feverishly write it down. But just take a moment to look through, again, sort of the summarized version of the focus I just shared with you and the key questions that are asked. And as you're doing that, think for a moment or consider suicide. Some authorities believe that suicides in the United States are significantly underreported in official statistics. Now, a sociologist, using the symbolic interactions perspective, might in effect attempt to explain that by arguing that suicide is, and I think all of you would agree with this, painful, difficult, and sometimes very embarrassing for survivors. Furthermore, insurance companies most often deny payment to beneficiaries if that client or policyholder has committed suicide. So as a result, some authorities, medical examiners, police officials, coroners, and the like, might be inclined to classify or label suicides as accidents. In other words, being human, the authorities want to minimize suffering of the survivors. Go back to our earlier discussions when we were focusing on the conflict and functionalist models of prostitution. A researcher employing the symbolic interactionist approach or perspective might focus on interpretations or meanings associated with the activity, including, for example, the specialized language that might be employed, the setting, any gestures that are used. They might also be interested in how do people learn the trade, and at the same time maintain a positive image of themselves while engaging in a profession that is socially disapproved. There have been some sociologists who have focused on the latter and have discovered through their interaction with prostitutes that some consider their work to be very important. They're quite proud of what they do and think of themselves as performing services that are provided by other professionals like psychotherapists or counselors. Likewise, some consider their activity to be first and foremost a business activity or enterprise. As one researcher highlighted, as they learn the trade, they learn to hustle. They seek to make as much money as they possibly can with a minimum amount of effort or work. Now, you can look at a variety of other symbols. This is one that a lot of you might be quite familiar with. You got it? The Nazi swastika. Yet, fascinatingly enough, there is an enormous amount of information and data that highlights the fact that this is a very ancient symbol. As a matter of fact, the earliest swastika ever found was uncovered in the Ukraine, carved on an ivory figurine. Interestingly enough, it dates back to 12,000 years ago. What do you think about? What comes to your mind? What definitions and meanings when you see the swastika? Note here, this is a photograph of a mosaic floor uncovered in an ancient Roman city. Likewise, researchers point out the fact that the swastika is a very important symbol in a number of the world's religions. Concentrate on these seals from the ancient Indus Valley civilization. And if you'll notice, and you really have to kind of focus on this for a moment, you'll see these are set up a little bit differently. Okay? This one, which kind of rotates in a counterclockwise way, is really kind of a symbol of negativity. Yet this one symbolizes a more positive connotation. Also, take a moment and just reflect upon this photograph. It's a box in a Buddhist temple in Tokyo. Notice the swastika? In Buddhism, the swastika is a symbol of good fortune, prosperity, abundance, and eternity. It may be a kind of graphic representation of eternity, and some argue it contains the Buddha's mind. In Hinduism, it's often an auspicious, really important symbol. Take a look here. The right-handed swastika, remember the one I noted a little bit earlier, that carries with it sort of a positive connotation, if you will, is a symbol of the god Vishnu and of the sun. Now, on the other hand, it's interesting to note as well that the swastika shows up in a lot of Native American art. This is a photograph of a team at an Indian school in 1909. Notice the swastikas? For the Navajo, the swastika is a symbol of the whirling log, a very important and sacred image used in healing rituals. For the Hopi, also located in the American Southwest, is symbolized wandering. Now, some have argued, y'all familiar with these two well-known symbols of international support and help organizations? The Red Cross and the Red Crescent. The Red Crescent, common in Middle Eastern countries, or where there is a rather substantial Muslim population. Red Cross, characteristic of European, North and South American cultures, often again affiliated with populations that are largely Christian. Therein lies the rub. Some argue that these symbols are overtly religious and have suggested that they should be replaced by a more neutral symbol, such as the red crystal. And last but not least, you all familiar with this symbol? Did you know that during the time of the Roman Empire, particularly during the reign of Nero, that this was an anti-Christian symbol, an inverted cross? Yet today it's still widely used as sort of a universal peace symbol, growing out of efforts generated by disarmament groups in Britain in the 1950s. Meanings. How meanings influence how we think. how we see the world around us. It's through the meanings of symbols that we create reality. Now, don't lose sight of the fact in closing that this model focuses on small scale, often face-to-face social interaction, that which you and I engage in on a daily basis. Hence, the symbolic interactions perspective is often referred to as a micro theory. Now, the functionalist and the conflict perspective, on the other hand, are macro models or perspectives, macro, because they focus on big, large-scale social processes and arrangements, like major institutions, government, economics, education, religion, how they are interrelated and how they are separate. Also, don't overlook the fact that in the text and in Study Guide 1, I've included, and your textbook author has also included, some of the major limitations and shortcomings of each of these models. Remember, even if you use all three, you're not going to get a complete picture of human social behavior. And bear in mind, once again, these perspectives are basically images, different interpretations of human social interaction and society, which guide thinking and research. I hope all of you will now start employing these to better appreciate and understand the complexity of everyday social life. Until next time.